Working Fans Podcast. Cool.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Coming down 3, 2.
Welcome back for another week of the Working Fans Podcast. This is AJ. I'm the former wrestler. We've got Dave, the ultimate fan, here with us as we do every week. Our producer Joe likes to make us sound good and makes us look way more professional than we actually are. As always, you can find us on Twitter, that's @FansWorking, Facebook, Working Fans Pod. We've got email where you can reach out to us and please contact us to let us know what you think of the podcast and for any ideas that you might have. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. We're on Instagram where you can keep up with us at workingfanswrestling_pod. And then you can now listen to us on all major platforms, including Anchor.fm. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and you can actually check us out on YouTube. Now, it's important when you go onto the Apple Podcasts and YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a rating, let us know what you think so you can help us out and we can continue to do what we love and bring you guys in as fans.
Little segment here called Dave Remembers. I think I just named it myself right there.
Right.
We're going to go back to a great angle, one of the most memorable angles of all time, and really want to profile a match. The match is New York Knockout, Clash of Champions 9, Ric Flair, Terry Funk. Conrad Thompson has said before that when he shows people that are non-wrestling fans a match, it's either Mick Foley, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell, or it's Ric Flair and Terry Funk, the I Quit match. Now,
So he likes to scare people.
the brief story on this is Adam and I talked about beforehand. Wrestle War 1989 was the first time this angle really got kicked off. Ric Flair won his 6th world title, defeating Ricky Steamboat. Afterwards, Funk, who was a judge, was looking for a title shot. Flair says, "Hey, man, you've been out in Hollywood. We have a top 10. You might have to win a match or two here." And Funk goes, "Oh, okay, well, I was just kidding, Rick. I didn't really want a title shot." Jumps Flair. Powell drives him through a table. Probably the first time we ever saw this on a national scene. Just beats him down brutally. And it's on there. And then they have a match at the Great American Bash where they both bleed. Flair and Funk are going at it there. And Muta and Sting come by at the end. After that match, there was a Clash of Champions where Flair, who's legit claustrophobic, Terry Funk have wrapped a plastic bag around his head and tied it. They actually had to apologize for this angle on TBS the following weekend because apparently, when at the time they were worried about kids strangling themselves with plastic bags, WCW do an angle where Flair had a bag tied around his face and neck. Really, apparently didn't go well with Turner's practices. That led to Halloween Havoc 89. Sting and Flair beat Muta and Funk. And all this finally concludes to New York Knockout. Now, one thing I really liked about this match, and I know you would agree if you saw this, was it was a wild brawl, and they're very uncooperative. They're beating the hell out of it, but they're selling it. Funk is going for the pile driver, and Flair's hitting his legs, and he's just refusing to get powered. And then Funk will get the pile driver, and there's no cooperation. Everything's looking like a real fight. They're beating the hell out of each other. Even Gary Hart here, rather than being a chicken shit heel, when Flair shoves him, Gary will grab a Brandon knife, don't touch me, Rick, don't you touch me, And all this is leading up to where the end, Flair gets the figure 4 on him. Again, Funk had been fighting off the figure 4 eventually a couple times. Flair finally gets it in. He makes him tap out. Crowd is going absolutely insane. And at the end of it, Funk gives up. He decides he's going to shake Ric Flair's hand because he had promised the people. And Gary Hart, you can have to decide, well, what did you promise? What did you promise? You don't embarrass me. And Funk shakes his hand and he says, "Ric Flair, you're a hell of a man." And then afterwards, Gary jumps Funk. Flair starts beating up Gary Hart. Muta and the Dragon Master come out, to which JR screams, the Japanese are attacking Ric Flair." Probably can't say that now. Sting comes out to make the save, and then Lex Luger grabs a chair. And by the way, if you watch this too, there's a fan fighting with Lex Luger to get the chair. Doug Dillinger actually had to help Lex Luger get the chair from the fan, which I thought was kind of funny. And then Luger goes in the ring, lays out Sting. Luger and the Japanese beat up Ric Flair and Sting. And then afterwards, Luger destroys a couple trophies that Flair and Sting were given earlier. Sting for most popular wrestler in WCW, Flair for wrestler of the decade. AJ, what are your thoughts on this storyline, the match from what you remember? I know it's been a long time.
Well, I think you can get away with saying the Japanese is not, but he didn't say anything actually wrong there. They are Japanese.
Oh, are they the Japanese?
Yeah, I think that the problem there would be if he used like Oriental or something like that.
He used that this week on AEW.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think being from Oklahoma, we expect a certain amount of racism from an old man. However, I think once Luger joined him, we should have probably changed it to the Crapanese.
The Crapanese.
Luger has never looked realistic in anything that he's done, so it's ironic that he would be the end of a fight that looks so realistic. I think it's one of the best matches of '89. I know everybody talks about the matches between Flair and Steamboat, but this to me was one of the most enjoyable matches. I think it was a tremendous just fight, and they made it look real. Though if you watch the crowd during that match, that crowd is emotionally invested in it, and they are hanging on everything that's happening. How often do you see that these days? That's one of those things that is a lost art now in making people buy it. Everybody wants this smooth as silk match now, and you see these kids that go out there and they're tremendous athletes, and everything just flows. Look, there's a shooting star press. You've got the flying burrito off of the ropes. You've got these gymnastic moves that are just beautiful and seamless, and the matches are perfect, except for one thing. What fight have you ever seen in your life that comes across as just being absolutely perfect and just nobody fighting back, or everybody's in the right spot at the right time? That's not where wrestling is supposed to be.
Hey, I got a question.
Different points. Yeah.
Who does the flying burrito?
Oh, that's Tito Santana.
Yeah, okay. I think that's something that heel Jesse Ventura said back in the day, but yeah.
It was either, I think it was Jesse. It was either him or Bobby, but I'm 99% sure it was Jesse.
Yes.
I just think I would throw a little homage into the old racist announcers, since you guys were talking about those wonderful announcers.
Yes, yeah, I love those announcers. They tell a great story. Listen.
But what was your take on the match? Did you think that it was as good as everybody makes it out to be, or?
It held up. And if a match of that time period still holds up with me, then that's special, because a lot of matches don't hold up after many years. But it's the crowd and it's the violence they bring. The chops that Flair are hitting all look very painful, and Funk, the way he bumps, he just bumps like a madman. It's absolutely crazy.
I'm gonna go a little bit farther. I say not only does it hold up, I think it's better than probably 80% of what we have now.
You don't get those kind of builds anymore, too. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Working Fans Podcast. It's your boy, number one fan Dave, producer Joe, and calling in today, AJ. How we doing, guys?
Good.
Awesome.
All right, why don't we start off? What's that?
No, I was just saying we got a snowstorm on my side. It's supposed to snow all the way till Tuesday.
Yes. So that's AJ's way of saying that's why he wasn't able to make it here today. But that's all right. So why don't we get started with the wrestling? AJ, why don't we talk with you first? What's the first thing you want to talk about this week that you saw?
To me, I think the biggest thing that we saw this week in wrestling was probably Raw being a good show for the first time in God knows how long, and finally getting back to showing a little bit. They always say in wrestling that the best characters are the ones that you embrace a little bit of the truth of the person. And I think that Raw, going back to a Seth Rollins who's a little bit of a prick, is actually a good move on their part in embracing who he is. And because he's gotten that reputation now with the fans, from the Twitter, from everything that's been going on. So them going in that direction, I think is the right move for the WWE on Monday night.
Yeah, I agree. I actually had Seth Rollins' heel turn as one of the things I was going to talk about, too. This guy just came off naturally as a bad guy to me. His line to Rey Mysterio, how you let us all down too. I beat Brock twice this year, and you couldn't do it with your stupid kid. I was like, okay, that's good heel shit.
In fairness, he was just telling the truth.
Well, let's see. Speaking of heel turns, we can talk about NXT a little bit too. A lot of heel turns this week. Going back to the War Games, I know we talked about this in that last episode, but she continued Wednesday, I thought, too. Dakota Kai showed up on NXT with the knee brace of Tegan Knox. I thought that was a great touch and is really showing this other side of a personality of a girl that was such a classic babyface to me, so smiley and everything. To see her performing this way is, showing another level to her act, and I'm really impressed with Dakota Kai.
I got to tell you, while she's doing a great job with the heel side of it as a personal character, kudos to NXT, too, for being smart enough to keep Tegan Knox off TV. The longer they can actually stretch this out and have her off TV for the next few weeks, the more you have a chance to grow the heat that is on Dakota Kai, and the more chances Dakota Kai has to show that dark side, the more impact it's going to have when they finally do get their hands on each other. And it's going to mean a lot more that way. Was
there anything else in NXT before we move on a little bit like this week? Did you want to talk about while we're going through these shows?
Oh, are you kidding me? NXT, to me, was the show of the week this week. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed AEW, but NXT, once again, just hit it out of the park. I think whether you look at how well Adam Cole does once again on the microphone, coming out with the Undisputed Era, and everybody's celebrating, and what the hell are you guys celebrating about? We're the ones who did everything, and taking the credit, being those heels, those true heels, and ripping it away from everybody.
How about the bump of the week, too?
Again, oh, God, that Keith Lee knocking Adam Cole all the way from Full Sail to, I think, Georgia University.
Yeah,
I think that was a pretty good bump.
Yeah.
But not only that, but you had the interesting storyline. We talk about things, WWE protecting their wrestlers. During the commercial break, Bobby Fish switched down and subbed in for, because of what they were afraid of was a nasty bump that could have led neck and concussion protocols. So I don't know if that caught you guys a little off guard when all of a sudden you saw Roddy Strong in the ring.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
I think Bobby's okay. It was just precautionary, though, so hopefully that's the case.
No, and he is, thank God. But it's good to see the WWE actually caring enough
to
take those precautions now. Because let's face it, there was a time period in the WWE where they would have just came back and you would have seen him hanging on the ropes, just, dazed and confused.
Well, I'm sure Chris Cruz will be happy too.
Yeah, well, screw Chris Cruz. Now, another thing from NXT, how do you like the direction of where Finn Balor's going?
Oh, I like it. We were heading to this later. That's another person I was thinking about. I just thought I'd address both now. Like Finn Balor, Tom Lawler from MLW turned on Ross Von Erich this week in a title match he had with Jacob Fatu, cost him the match, and at the end of it, he says, F you Contra, F you Von Erichs. Finn Balor beats Ciampa with the help of Adam Cole, but then lays out Cole, too, at the end of it. So I kind of like this thing in wrestling now where we're having bad guys that are heels, but not necessarily having an alliance to somebody. Like, yeah, I'm a heel, I'm a bad guy, but I want your strap.
Well, I also like it because it adds a little bit of realism to it. Just because two guys are bad people doesn't mean they like each other.
Right.
There's always been this weird thing in wrestling where just because you're a bad guy and I'm a bad guy, we've got to work together. That doesn't make any sense. Sometimes in life, the people that are most like us are the people we hate the most. Because they remind us of our own frickin' being a jerk or whatever it is,
I want to talk about something, too, this week, just in wrestling in general. And I'm going to use two examples of good and bad. Cartoonish. Jericho talked about this on the Keeping It 100 podcast a little bit, where he was mentioning how his interview, which I thought was great from AEW, with Scorpio Sky and Jericho. This is going from 2 weeks ago now, where Scorpio Sky said, oh, I don't want the title shot. Chris, I could never beat you. And he's like, well, you got the title shot, which I guess, by the way, for people who didn't know, was a storyline that Tony Khan came up with based off of Ric Flair and Jerry Lawler in Memphis, where Lawler was telling Flair, oh, Rick, I'm never going to beat you anyway, but what about a title shot, Which I thought was pretty cool.
I've actually seen that footage.
Yeah.
Lawler actually doing it when Flair came down. Flair was obviously the NWA champion at the time. He came through Memphis. Lawler was the babyface, and he pulls literally the same exact thing where he's like, no, I'm just from this local promotion, Rick. I don't really belong in the ring with you.
Right.
And basically it ends up working the same way.
Yeah, definitely check that out on YouTube.
It worked really well. Plus, other than people like ourselves who have actually watched literally thousands upon thousands of hours of wrestling, not everybody's going to actually get that. So I think you can pull a storyline like that out of the past. Let's face it, a lot of the storylines that we do see today still are storylines that we pull out of the past.
Well, anyway, too, what my point was, like a little cartoonish, but good in a good way. And Jericho's point was he was talking about The Fiend. And The Fiend, I think, is a great character. But his point was Bryan, before the match with The Fiend at Survivor Series, Miz comes up to him and says, for the sake of our children, you need to win. And he's right. Like, to me, that was just so over the top. It's like, okay, buddy, all right, nobody's going to steal our kids in the middle of the night. And then this week, too, again, I like the Fireflies Funhouse segments on SmackDown. Thought they were well done. And then the end, The Fiend and Bryan are fighting. He pulls them under the ring. I don't have a problem with that. But then he supposedly starts ripping his hair out. And you're seeing this, giant clumps of hair flying, and it just looks stupid. It takes me out of it. Like, there's a part of me that really likes this character because they do such a good job with it, but then they just go in a direction sometimes where I'm like, what the fuck is this?
So, I agree with that 100%. However, I got to just tell you, they did do something good with The Fiend this week also, though.
Yeah.
And it actually involved The Miz, where they talked about how everybody so far who has wrestled The Fiend has changed. And think about it. They really have. Every single person. Seth Rollins now embracing his bad guy being turned into the heel. You've got every person who's wrestled The Fiend so far has not been the same person after they're actually done wrestling him. Who was the first person?
Finn Balor.
There you go, Finn Balor, who has actually gone heel again and back to who he was before, embracing his inner demon. So far, every person who has wrestled The Fiend is going back to who they once were or their inner side. Bryan might be actually doing it the opposite way, whereas he's going now back towards the yes movement and back towards his inner goodness, if you look at it.
Actually, I'd have to say, too, somebody at the writing staff sounds like they're paying attention, so good for them. And Bryan got an amazing reaction, too, this week. Those yes, I think this is, like, really what he needs to be doing anyway, because the people want to chant yes with him, and they love this character.
So I think we can agree the overall storyline and how they're putting it together and making it make sense is awesome. But as usual, the WWE is taking it that step too far with the ridiculousness, with the hair and the stuff like that. Now, it would be funny if Bryan came out this week with that old-fashioned haircut that he had when he first came in. The square cut with the...
Yeah. I thought that might be where they're going with this. Now, let me ask you, there's something about AEW I want to talk about. First, what are your thoughts on AEW this week?
I thought AEW as a whole was good. I like the fact that they focused a little bit more on the women's wrestling this week and made the women's wrestling a little bit more legitimized. I don't like the fact that they had Chris Statlander come in and do the job. She is a tremendous athlete, and she's actually been a top pick. There were rumors about a month ago that she was going to be signed by NXT, and she had to come out and actually say, no, I have not been signed by NXT. And everybody was curious as to how fast she actually replied to that. And now it actually makes sense, seeing that she's now the newest person under contract to AEW.
The Jericho Scorpio Sky match, I thought that was what it needed to be. Scorpio Sky looked great, but at the end, Jericho came out with the belt.
Okay, I am not going to be popular at all here. Spoiler alert, I did not like this match.
Okay.
Scorpio Sky is a tremendous athlete, and I know we talk about Chris Jericho being, he continues to grow and be a new person. I thought he was a step behind Scorpio Sky here, and I did not think he did a good job of keeping up with him. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are going to listen to this podcast and they're going to be like, oh no, Chris Jericho is still there. He's losing a step, guys. He's not in the same shape. I know he was doing the DDP yoga. He's getting a little thick around the middle. He's not moving the same. He's not bumping the same. And to me, he's losing a step in the ring.
What did you think about the celebration, though, beforehand, with Sammy and him taking the picture and the poster? I thought that was well done.
Well, first of all, anytime you bring in Freight Train Jones, you're doing the right thing.
It's so Train Jones, buddy.
Whatever. God damn, he's always going to be freaking Virgil to us.
that meat sauce.
This is a guy. Yeah, first of all, this is a guy who, if you give him a frickin' plate of spaghetti and meat sauce from the Olive Garden, will go sign for your kids at the bar mitzvah. So, and the guy's a bit of a douche when you do see him.
Just have his fuck money. That's all he asks.
Yeah, I don't have the most respect for him in any shape or form. But I thought the segment overall was fantastic. I love the fact that SCU was in the marching band the whole time. That's fantastic. SCU, anything they touch is pretty much gold right now.
Okay.
I think that they're charismatic. I think the fans absolutely love them when they get them chanting along with the SCU. I love Christopher Daniels with the mic stand as much as I dislike. What's the young lady, Japanese wrestler who does the mic stand?
Emi Sakura.
I always say her name wrong, so I'll let you say that. She is absolutely horrible with her mic stand, and I think it's ridiculous. But for whatever reason, it works for Christopher Daniels.
Well, here's something I want to talk about, and then we're going to go to our next segment. Well, unless Joe's got something he wants to add to. But
well, I was going to say, that was that the first segment that was almost derivative of an idea that happened in WWE, kind of rehashing that Festival of Friendship?
Oh, it absolutely was.
Yeah.
And it was done, I thought, better.
Yeah, I thought it was pulled off much better, to be honest with you.
Jericho's dad going heel.
First of all, anytime you can get Ted Irvine on a show, good job. And the fact that he knew they were in Chicago, and he put over his Rangers, which are a huge rival of Chicago. It was a great opportunity, and he really pulled it off.
It was such a slow burn.
One thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up, and I got to admit, I'm jacking this from the Brian and Vinny show on Wrestling Observer, who brought this up, but I thought it was such a great point. Immediately, the segment came off awkward, but I'm going to explain the segment and what segment I'm talking about. And I'm going to steal a little bit from them, so if anyone catches this and it sounds familiar. But Cody Rhodes has a match, some enhancement talent. He gets the win. And suddenly, the Butcher is coming up. The Blade. The Blade comes in the ring first. And now, Brian and Vinny, Brian's like, I don't know who the hell this is, and I watch a lot of wrestling. I've actually got to see the Butcher and Blade live one time, but I get it. I
actually knew who both of them were. So.
Yeah. Well, we saw the Butcher in the Bloodsport with Barnett.
Yes.
Right. But
and then of course the other one is actually Allie's husband.
Right. So it's just kind of funny when he comes up to Butcher. He says the crowd is looking around confused. He says, JR's like, who's this? And Excalibur's like, it's the Butcher, or it's the Blade. And then basically, he starts attacking Cody, and then the Butcher comes up, and Ross is like, who's this? And Excalibur's like, it's the Butcher. And everybody starts chanting, who are you? Who are you? And their point, I have to agree, is if the storyline here is that Excalibur is so knowledgeable of wrestling, and he knows everybody, and I think we all agree that he's a great announcer, he probably in these situations should give us a little more in that to explain like who these are, whether they wrestled from, these guys are out of the East Coast or these guys are from the Midwest or whatever you want to describe it. But it just comes off weird and awkward when, it's just like, it's the Butcher. This is true, by the way. Actually, whether it's Gordon Soley, Jim Ross, Marlon, he'll have ones that he likes, but he's actually not an overall fan of announcers. He actually shits on announcers. This is something we've never talked about in the podcast, and I've actually mentioned it to him. And another thing, I'm just going to throw this out here now, too, is those great video packages you ever see in wrestling or the ones like the WWE's really good producing. He hates that shit, too. Just know that. Anyway, go ahead, Adam. Tell you the whole thing.
Yeah, video packages are pure garbage. But let's go into the announcing. First of all, you want to get over this segment, and here's what you do. JR, keep your mouth shut because you clearly don't know who they are. He doesn't even need to say anything in that segment. Have Excalibur actually come with the knowledge and actually say, oh my God, it's the Blade, it's the Butcher, and actually tell us a little bit about him in that segment and get it over without making JR look like he has no idea who any new talent is. Also, whatever happened to the good old days in wrestling where people just got excited because they saw talent that they didn't recognize? Just because you don't recognize somebody doesn't mean they're not somebody. We have literally right now one of the biggest resurgences in independent wrestling in the world where people are just top talent all around the world, working fantastic matches, working great matches. Instead of actually shitting on it because you don't recognize somebody, How about we look at it and go, holy shit, these guys do look scary. These guys do look crazy. And how good did Allie look in her freaking costume, for Christ's sake?
The bunny!
Exactly. Instead of actually shitting on it as wrestling fans, why don't we actually get wrapped up into it and get excited like we did in the old days? When Bruiser Brody came from town to town, not everybody in every town that was at the wrestling show knew who Bruiser Brody was when he first hit the ring. But let me tell you something. They were either scared or impressed by the time he left that ring. And I thought the Butcher and the Blade did an actual good job of attacking Cody. So, you know what? Good job, AEW.
Actually,
like we talked about before.
I got to bring up something here. I was going to say something purposeful to get you going, but I'm going to backtrack actually instead. Joe, did you go to that Foxwoods American Honor card? You missed it this year, didn't you?
I missed it, yeah.
The Butcher and the Blade took on the Rock and Roll Express on that card.
Yeah.
But you know who else was on that card? Nick Gage and Mr. Retro Grappler.
Thomas
Santel wrestled Tom Lawler and, do you remember the guy who was supposed to win? Brian Alvarez.
Yeah.
And Brian Alvarez didn't know who these guys were, but he was on the same show.
Yeah, so there's another funny little thing, and another thing where the announcers look like assholes. To me, people put way too much into the announcers. It's no different than sports. When I'm watching a true sport, it's the action on the TV that tells the story. The announcers should be the salt and pepper to it. They should be the seasoning. They shouldn't be the story. And when you come out of it and you have podcasts that are actually talking about what the announcers did wrong or right according to their beliefs when it comes to the angle, guess what? You're putting way too much into the announcers. It should be about the angle.
Hello, everybody. It's former WWE superstar Al Snow, and you're listening to the Working Fan Podcast.
This is the man of steel, Mike Verna, and you are listening to the Working Fans Podcast, a hell of a podcast, everything wrestling, everything life. Do yourself a favor, check this out.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dave and Joe with the Working Fans Podcast, and today we have up-and-coming wrestler, up-and-coming actor. This guy keeps very busy. Mike Verna, the Superman. Mike, how you doing?
Oh, man. I'm doing very, very good. Thank you guys for having me. I've been pretty excited once we locked this in. So I'm definitely very, very happy to be a part of this right now. What's going on with you guys?
Oh, not much. Mike, I was saying, you're super busy. Like when I was doing my research on you, you're actually going to an independent show right now and you're still doing this. So we appreciate that too, first off.
No problem. No, like I said, I appreciate you guys for doing this because right now on the GPS it says I got 2 hours and 3 minutes of pure red. So this is beautiful.
We'll kick off with a basic one. Your earliest memories of pro wrestling. Did you grow up a big fan? What was the start with pro wrestling?
Definitely. So I don't want to sound redundant because I'm sure every single interview you've heard pretty much will probably be the same thing. But for me, when I was a kid, I had two real deal passions, two things that I was obsessed with. One was baseball and one was pro wrestling. Now, when you're a young kid, especially a guy or whatever it may be, you're very exposed to sports as a child. Whether you're playing flag football, you're playing soccer, you're playing t-ball, all that stuff. So I started playing baseball at 3 years old. So, it kind of was just something that I was put in by my parents, and I didn't know that I would actually love it, but I ended up loving it. So I kind of played that all the way through high school. And what I'll get to with the next point about stopping at high school, well, that's where wrestling came into. As a kid, you really never had the opportunity to ever be like a wrestler or know that there's a wrestling school or how you actually get involved in wrestling. Hold on one second. A kid is youth players try. Speaking of sports, a youth player is asking for a donation outside my car.
Not a problem.
There you go, boys. Good luck. All right. There you go. They're going to Florida. Okay.
I thought you were going to pull a heel move on there and be like, get out of here, kids. That's good.
Yeah, there goes my career right there. Yeah, with the so you really never had a chance to do any kind of wrestling as a kid. You never really had the idea. You would know about it, you watch about it, you love it, but you never really thought that you could do it. I had no idea as a kid that you could actually grow up and there would be steps and there would be schools and training academies where you can actually, train to be a professional wrestler. So as I got a little bit older and, I was in the prime of my playing career, I was captain of the baseball team in high school. I had several, I knew I was staying home for college. So that's the first point I'm going to make here. I knew I was staying home no matter what. I just didn't want to go away. Yeah, do I regret it now that I'm an adult and I had to go away to school? Yeah, but I had plenty of friends out there. So I visited them. I did my party, got my fix with that. But I knew I was staying home. So every single school that had feelers out for me were all local New York-based, city-wise or Long Island. So I sat there and I said, okay, I got some good choices to play ball. But what happened is at that particular time, I started getting back into wrestling. So when you're a kid, you always go through out of your phase. So not to get too off topic about your question, I got into it as a kid, there's no doubt about that. But to get into how I got into wrestling, you get that in and out phase. You start maybe like early high school, like, this is fake, you don't want to do it, you're embarrassed, all this stuff. But you never really lose touch of like liking it, enjoying it. You're always a fan deep down, but you're not as public about it anymore. As I finished high school, wrestling started getting that boom again. It wasn't really in the position it is now, but it started kind of getting cool around the 18-year-old guys that I was friends with in the early 21s. You go to the bar, and all of a sudden you have a wrestling reference, and someone's wearing like an NWO shirt, and then there's that low-key excitement. You kind of get giddy, like, oh, and all of a sudden you find yourself at a bar, drunk, talking about, the Attitude Era.
100%.
People that you just met. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
That started kind of getting into my lifestyle again. When I started liking it, and I started realizing, why did I stop liking it? So when I had the chance then, I was like 18, 19 years old, and I did my first run of workouts with the team that I selected, which was College of Staten Island. And it's a D2 program now, and I got going, and I said to myself, I was like, you know what? I really don't know, and this pains me to say, because I'm sure we'll get into it, but I'm a college baseball coach now. So I try not to tell this story to my players themselves, unless they really need a heart-to-heart and let them know where their life is going. But I knew deep down, I said, you know what, I just don't think I want to play anymore. And like I said, it pains me now to talk about it because of how much I love baseball and how it's become more of my passion than wrestling, only because wrestling is my career. So I had the chance for baseball to be my passion. So when I had that like ultimatum with myself, I said, okay, I think I want to actually go pursue this wrestling thing. And it was at that particular time where Zack Ryder started doing his YouTube show, C2 Long Island Story. And it was very, very popular, and it was super cool. And the Big O, who was actually my first tag partner, was highly showcased on it. And it was just all those little mini montages and everything like that. And then I found out that NYWC out in Deer Park, Long Island, was only about an hour away from my house. And now all of a sudden, I opened up Pandora's box and saying, holy shit, I can do this thing that I always wanted to do, and now I have a chance to do it. So that was really a really long story of how I got into wrestling.
No, that's pretty cool. I didn't know. That makes a lot of sense. I was just talking about someone today, how Zack Ryder and maybe Matt Hardy were some of the first guys who really used social media to kind of get themselves out there and get over. And now everybody does it because it's just a thing. It's a lifestyle.
Now you can get you a job.
Right. 100%. Yeah. That's one thing I noticed, like, when I was looking you up, like, you're extremely busy. Like, you're on it. Like, when I tried to contact you, you were super on it. You have, it seems like your Facebook, your Twitter. You got a lot of that. You're very active. You're obviously in movies. We'll talk a little bit about that, too. What drives you? Why are you just this active, busy guy?
Well, that's honestly a great question, and I fight that battle with myself every day because I sit there and I've never realized how important and how valuable a day off is until I started living this lifestyle. But honestly, I never wanted to settle for anything less than what I wanted to do, and that's not enough. Like, my brother's a police officer, my cousin is a firefighter, my nephew's a police officer, my friends are court officers, nurses, teachers. Everything that's such a valuable job in this world that should be getting paid way more money than anything that we do out there. But it just wasn't for me. I didn't want to, I use the word settle poorly. I don't mean it as a job that I was settled for. But that is something when you grow up in New York City, teachers get paid very well. And the public servicemen and women, it's not that they get paid well, but they have a very comfortable living situation once you get on the job. So what happens with a lot of the people around me is once they graduate college, if they graduate college, or once they graduate high school and they kind of start taking these tests in the city, they kind of just get complacent with, like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a great life. I'm going to have a wife, a kid, a husband, and all this stuff is going to be, simple yet stable. I never had that mindset whatsoever. Like, even when I went to school, I went for media studies and communications and network television stuff. So I went to school for something that is a risky job, but it's something that I rather would have done something I'm passionate about rather than, like I said, settling, even though I think that's a poor word choice for it. I just didn't want to do that. So I sat there and I said, I can't live that basic lifestyle. One of my acting coaches, not to jump forward, is Chaz Palminteri from the Bronxdale, Analyze This. He's a legend. Obviously, he came up with the quote that said, "Thing in life is wasted talent." And every time I drive and every time I live, it's in my wallet. He gave us this card. On that card, it says the quote that said, "Thing in life is wasted talent," and it's signed by him. I have one in my car and one in my wallet, just to remind me every single day, like, if the going gets tough, or if I'm burnt out, if I really don't have any time whatsoever to kind of enjoy myself or have a social life, I just look at that card and I say, that's the way thing in life is wasting talent. Like, if I don't do this, what the hell am I doing? I'm wasting it. You know, there are a lot of people, not to sound narcissistic, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that wish they were in my shoes, but a lot of people can't handle that lifestyle. So I can't take that lifestyle for granted. Although it may be hard and difficult, it's something that I was like blessed to be a part of, and like, you know, I was given to, so I got to make the most of it, you know?
100%. Yeah. It's funny. I have a little side business. I bring this up once in a while. I feel like an idiot talking about it, but like, I feel like I can relate a little bit. Like, I have a business where I deliver bread, and I get up at 2 a.m. every day. And I've been doing this for the last 3 years. I've had Christmas off. It's the only day off I take. But I was telling someone, and I think you're a lot more faster paced, but I think when you start going, you kind of get in that mentality, almost like where you can't stop. Is that probably? Yeah.
That's exactly the way I look at it. Like, when I have an off day, like I said, I love it. I absolutely love
100%.
it. I find myself driving myself crazy with, like, what am I going to do? I need to do something. I got to go to the gym. I got to do this. I got to do that. And it's just this whole like mindset of like you said, a complete stop. Like, you don't know what to do. And then once you start, as you can tell by the way I talk, once I stop, I can't stop. Once I start, I can't stop.
Well, you're in a good industry for that, man. Acting and wrestling.
Yeah, right.
What got you into acting? Why don't we just go there, right there? Like, how did that come about?
Well, it's a great segue there. Well, honestly, wrestling. Pro wrestling is what got me into acting. When I was a kid, I always, you know, when you have a big family, I come from Italian households, we have a lot of family members, a lot of cousins, a lot of nieces and nephews and all that stuff within the same age range. When you're a kid, you kind of just grab the old camcorder and you start making like movies, like little narratives that you think you're going to win an Oscar, but they're really like 4 minutes long and they're the shittiest things you've ever seen. But I had a lot of those, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of these, you know, Mike Verna videos that had a lot of, you know, great ideas in the heart of it, but they weren't very good.
Yeah.
So I always enjoyed like filmmaking and like acting and always kind of like performing, but like I said before, I was always an athlete. So I never really had a chance to kind of, you know, do it. And honestly, you know, not to sound hypocritical, when I was a kid, I had zero interest in actually doing it because it was a different time in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Guys played sports, girls went to dance and did all the kind of like, we started. I know it sounds a little crazy, but that was the 90s. Deal with it. You know, screw these people. It's a different world now, but in the 90s, it was, you know, men did boys things, girls did girl things. You know, thankfully now it's obviously everyone can do whatever the hell they want, and that's a great thing. But at the time, it wasn't something that I thought about pursuing. It just wasn't something that I was truly interested in pursuing, but I didn't always enjoy it. And then high school came along, and there was this thing in high school called SIG. And it basically was a competition where 2 grades went against the other 2 grades, in my case, did creative production. The costumes, they made the music, they did it. It was the first grade kind of thing. Did I lose you?
Yeah. Where were we at?
What was the last thing? I don't even know where we were.
You were talking about the 2 grades competing against the other 2 grades.
Yeah, so good. There you go. So I kind of got recruited by like some of the girls that were, you know, obviously involved in it. And I was like, yeah, why not? You know, there's a lot of girls in this thing. You know, why give it a shot? So I ended up doing that for my junior year and my senior year. And that was literally the only acting I've ever done. And mind you, this was not acting. This was literally doing an after-school program in the off-season when there was no baseball practice to be around the freaking girls. That was it. So it wasn't really anything special. So what happened was, fast forward, 5-6 years later when I started wrestling, what I noticed in New York City, a lot of talent scouts and a lot of agents, modeling agents, they go to professional wrestling matches because they look for guys who can kind of do both. You know, they can kind of, okay, this guy has a good body, he's got a good face, maybe we can get him into modeling. So what had happened was I had a couple of talent scouts come to wrestling events in New York City, and that's how I actually met my agent. So he actually, you know, found me on Facebook. He said, hey, I was at the show. I thought you were really impressive. I would love to talk about representing you in modeling and acting. I thought it was a joke, because let's be real. I'm sure you heard this a million times. Wrestlers get some crazy DMs. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, what is this key? What does he want from me?
Right.
So I kind of passed it off for a little bit, and then I saw that he started adding a lot of other wrestlers. And then Anthony Bowens, if you're familiar with him, he's in the tri-state area at a Wrestle Pro. If you're not familiar with him, he's very talented. He's another wrestler in my area. And he has the same manager, same agent, rather. So I hit him up, and I was like, hey, is this guy legit? And then he told me, yeah, I've been with him for so many months, and he's been good, he's been getting me on this. So then I said, all right, let me actually message him. And I linked up with him, and I got represented, I signed on with them, and then I started actually taking classes. And in the midst of taking classes, just through that whole networking aspect, it's the same thing in wrestling. You meet people, and all of a sudden one door opens, and it's just a domino effect. So I do those classes, I met some people, and all of a sudden I found myself working on background roles for big Warner Brothers television movies, like Ocean's 8, a couple of shows on CBS. Now, background work anyone can do, but it's experience. It gives you an idea of how the business works and like what it takes to actually make a movie and how long and how stressful the situation really is. But from that, again, you network, and all of a sudden I'm getting phone calls now say, hey, we have an independent movie called Bare Knuckle Brawler. We need guys that are in shape, that know how to fight, know how to stunt fight. As a pro wrestler, you kind of automatically know how to stunt fight. So I landed some gigs doing that, and then I got my union card. And then once you get your union card, all of a sudden your stock goes up a little bit. Then you get represented by a manager. Now you get an agent and a manager, and all of a sudden you just start getting roles and auditions. So one went to another with the acting world, but how I got into it was just a crapshoot, complete luckiness. Someone seeing me, someone saying I could do it or I should do it, and then taking some classes and realizing that acting is not that much different than wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's basically the same thing.
You know, it's funny, you grew up in New York, and first time I ever went to New York, I was just trying to, like, date this girl at the time, and she wanted to go to New York. And I said, yeah, I'll drive to New York, and thinking it was going to be the traffic was going to be like Boston and Providence, and not realizing, oh, this is a completely different animal. And
oh my God.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where I'm going. Is like New York is an interesting place to live. It's super busy. What was it like growing up in New York? And do you think that, you know, kind of helped you being able to be the busy guy you are?
I think you just hit it right on the head. Like, it's funny now because as I get older, I'm 28 now, and I know I'm not old. But as I get older, I start to appreciate the little things in life. Let's put it that way. And I whenever I travel, like, that's the best thing about wrestling is that you travel so much and you get to see so many different areas, different states, different countries, and you realize how different it is to what you're used to or what you grew up seeing. And I realized how different, like you said, New York really is from the fast-paced aspect of things, how fast people move, the congested nature of it, the progressive aspect of, like, everyone needs to do something successful. So it's motivating in a lot of ways, but it's also very overwhelming at times. And I tell people now, like I said, as I get a little older, that I live in Brooklyn. Brooklyn, when you think of Brooklyn, you think of a lot of things. You think of buildings, you think of a lot of people, you think of the mafia, you think of gangs, you think of, you know, all a million things that come to your mind. I live in a neighborhood in Brooklyn that is very, very similar to a suburban. I can't even think of an area up by you that would be super suburban, but to me, in New York, it's like Long Island. So my town or my neighborhood in Brooklyn is more similar to a Long Island place rather than a New York City place. So I tell people now, like, if I didn't live in that area my whole life, I'm not quite sure that I would love living in Brooklyn, only because of right now how crazy it is with the amount of people. You can't drive anywhere, you can't park anywhere. It's just insane. And especially now, Brooklyn's becoming a little Manhattan, because Manhattan's prices just gone through the roof. So Brooklyn is now like the new destination of A for tourists, and B for living. So it's become pretty. But that fast-paced living and that you know, always going, city never sleeps mentality, and that's a shoot. This city does not sleep. I mean, it's insane. Sometimes you'll literally get home from, you know, if I'm on the road and I get home at 4 o'clock in the morning, I can literally, if I was crazy, I can go to a bar and just start my night. That's how crazy this is. It's funny because out by you, I'll leave a show and I'm trying to find a gas station, and gas stations are closed at 9 o'clock. I'm like, how's that possible?
Right.
New York City, we're open 24 hours. You can buy beer 24 hours. There's no dry time. There's nothing. It's just craziness, 24/7. But you are 100% right that type of living is kind of like what's molded me to be able to do this, like just not stop going.
Your nickname, Superman, obviously, you know, you're in roles. Is that something, like, are you a big comic book fan too? Like, how did that come about?
That's great. That's a great question too. So the Man of Steel name, I'll tell you how that came. To answer your first question, growing up, did I like comic books? Yes. Was I a comic book fanatic? No. So I wasn't big in collecting comics. I didn't read them often. I loved the movies growing up. I was a huge Batman and Robin fan. I loved the Superman movies, all that stuff growing up. I mean, we were the Tim Burton Batman era. So we had Batman Forever, Batman Returns, Batman the first one with Jack Nicholson, and then it got crazy with Batman and Robin and all that other stuff. But that was the movies I grew up watching. So I always loved superheroes. Like, no doubt about it. Believe it or not, at that time I was a bigger Batman fan than Superman. No doubt about that. But I wasn't a huge fanatic as I got out of those early childhood stages. How I got the name was after NYWC. I actually had to stop for a little bit for training there because I at the time had gotten a really good promotion at work. So when you're like 18 years old and the minimum wage in New York right now is 15, but at the time it was 50 when I was that age. So I got offered a job at 18, making $13 an hour as a manager of a G&T store. So I saw fucking stars at that point. So I was like, all right, let me do this. So obviously the responsibilities got a little bit more intense, and I couldn't train as often as I would. So I had like a 6-month hiatus from NYWC. To make my life a little bit easier, I met someone who worked worked at the gym I train here at Harvard Fitness in Brooklyn, New York. He's a wrestler. He doesn't work as actively now because he's getting married and stuff like that, but his name is Talent. Great wrestler, very, very underrated. Needs to get out there. But long story short, he was a wrestler. So through him, I found out that he was training with Joel Maximo at the SAT over at Park Slope, Brooklyn, which is, like I said, about a 15, 20-minute drive away from me. And their hours were a lot more open than NYWC. So I said, oh, crap, this is my chance to kind of get back in the ring. So it was kind of meant to be to go back there. So once I started training with him and I was getting ready to debut, I just didn't have a name. I could not come up with something. Like, Joel was coming up with ideas like Ethan Chase, Ethan Fox. I don't know why he's thinking to call me Ethan, but Ethan Fox, and Mike Chase. Then he said Mike Benoit because I looked like Chris Benoit. That would have really skyrocketed my career, let me tell you.
Yeah, that'd be good for you.
I know that. So we were just sitting there thinking, and I told him, I said, no matter what, I want to keep my name Mike. I said, I don't feel like I would be able to emotionally connect to a different name. Like, it's not my style. What's different in wrestling and movies is you can play a character and that's that. But in wrestling, it's kind of like a sport. You're that everyday person. So I just wasn't fully comfortable with a name change other than Mike. So I said, let's stick with Mike and let's try to come up with a way to cut my last name down or something. So I was kind of leaning towards Verna because I knew when I was playing baseball, that's what they used to call me. They said Verna. When I was up, it was always Verna or Vern or something like that. So I was like, let's just go with Verna. So it's Mike Verna. And now what's the moniker? Because every wrestler needs something. You can't just be Jon Snow or John Smith and expect to be, a star. So I sat there and I thought I couldn't come up with something. So one summer day, I'm training, sweaty as hell. My beard is very trimmed and short, so it didn't really look full. And my hair, because of the sweat, is starting to make that Superman curl naturally. On top of that, I'm wearing a Superman tank top. So I'm working out, and the ring is, and the training session's over. I'm getting ready to leave, and Joel looks at me and he goes, "You look like Superman." And I said, "Okay." No, he said, "No, you look like Superman." And I was like, "Okay, where we go?" He's like, "The Man of Steel. That's your name." And then right then and there, I said, "That's my fucking name." I was immediately able to kind of connect to it. And what I love about it, and I don't want to jump too far to like my wrestling career now, but what I love about it is one of the biggest praises I get about my character or my performance is that as soon as my music hits, you hear the opening chords to the Superman. It's a metal version of the Superman. So you hear the and right away, I learned verbatim it from a fan when they said, when we hear it, you kind of roll your eyes because you say every single wrestler, they'll have the S and they'll make their own logo out of it, or they'll call themselves Superman, or they'll have the gear. It's a basic thing. Everyone has a Superman tattoo. So you hear it and you kind of roll your eyes. But as soon as I walked through the curtain, I'll never forget it. The fan said that I said, "I got it." And he said, once I saw it, he's like, I could not take my eyes off it. He's like, as a comic book fan, as a Superman fan, I saw it, I believed it. I saw how you wrestle with the high flying and strength and coming from behind. If I'm a baby face and I'm getting my ass whooped and then I come down, it's like they got it. And that's one of the biggest praises I get is that in a world where everybody wants to be a cool heel or a successful heel, I'm a baby face that can basically cater to all demographics. So that Superman name, that Man of Steel name, like I look back at it. Is there times that I look at it and say, it's so cheesy, it's Superman? I look at it, there are times where you kind of get bored. You're like, how far can I go with this thing? How much can I stretch it before I kind of corner myself? But then I realize how don't fix what's not broken. It's literally given me so much success in my career so far, and I've only been doing this for 6-7 years now. Like, if I continue to do this for the rest of my life, like I know that it will be something that will help me get to where I want to be.
I don't know why, I just been thinking about this. Superman, we were watching some matches with you before this, and there was a tag match. It was at Beyond Wrestling, and you were going, looked like for a swanton, I want to say on Brian Malonis and maybe Cam, and it looked like you hit pretty hard. And I said to Joe, I immediately got to ask him, like, what's the worst bump you've taken? I'm kind of curious.
So that was up there, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If you remember, I took the bump and I kind of Undertaker sat up and said, I'm super bad motherfucker, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, stuff like that.
It looked brutal, though. I was like, yeah, he's no selling it, but...
It was so brutal, and both Cam and Brian, they like apologized endlessly for it, and it was just something that it happened.
Sure.
What we do is not that way. I know you heard that term before. It really isn't. And like you go out there and you trust your body with friends and colleagues and other people that you work with, and sometimes stuff just happens. You know, like positioning wise, grip. There's a bunch of stuff that happens. So what happened, and it definitely hurt a lot. It's funny because Drew actually texted me the next day and said that bump broke in the basement. It's like an Elks lodge that we were wrestling. In the basement, they have all these old pictures of like all the Elks from like the 1800s, for Christ's sake. Like it's that many, like straight up antique pictures, antique things. Something broke from that bump. So the people weren't very happy. Drew wasn't very happy, but just to put into perspective of how hard that bump was, it broke something underneath the floor.
Huh.
So
Wow.
yeah, but that one hurt for a while. I remember the next day I was banged up. Like when it happens, your adrenaline is so high that you just don't feel anything. But the next day or the day after, when things start to kick in, that's when you start like, ow, that really hurt. That was a stupid idea, so on and so forth. That one hurt. Another match I had with NEW, we were in Holyoke, Massachusetts, and I was wrestling the Wrecking Ball. And this was kind of like a spot show and a spot match. We had like a long weekend, like we were in all these big venues, and then we just had this random Sunday show, and it was just kind of like, let's just go out there, 6 matches, and let's just go home. We had a long loop, like we're ready to do it. So it was me versus Wrecking Ball, and Wrecking Ball and I have great matches. Like we have good chemistry. You know, Wrecking Ball is not the easiest person to work with because he's so big. So as an opponent, you kind of find yourself limited from a standpoint of moves and what you can get to him, so on and all that. But we have great chemistry, and we're not afraid to hit each other. We really lay each other in. So we were having one of these matches where we're just going back and forth. And it started a little bit slow, but then we got to a moment where we just started striking the shit out of each other. And they were loud, and the crowd was just getting louder and louder and louder, and they were just starting to bark out. So we're getting hyped. We're excited now. Now we're ready to go. Because that's the one thing, as a wrestler, if the crowd is not there, and there are some shows where the fans are just, they're like Japanese fans. They like to sit, they like to watch, they don't make noise. But when there's no noise, and there's no cheering, or there's no booing, or there's no investment, and don't get me wrong, part of that's on us. But if there isn't any of that, it drains you from a performance standpoint. You get winded quicker, you get out of the zone, you're not in the element. So at this particular match, they were loud, they were pumped. So we're getting more pumped, and we're getting more excited. So we're outside fight now, and he throws me into the front row. So I fell down for a little bit, and I start getting up, and I say, suplex me back in. And we just did this on fire. He's like, on what? I said, on the floor. So I just made him suplex me in onto the floor, and I landed on my hip and my lower back. And so, yeah. And like for about a week and a half, I could not walk. I literally was like shot. Like that was something that killed me. I mean, it was on me. It's not a Wrecking Ball. It was my call. I just landed wrong. Like sometimes you have these moments where you just don't flat back, and you land on the side, you land on something weird, and it happens. Like I said, it was the business what we signed up for. So that hurt. And then the last thing was my only true knockout in my entire life. Like I've never been knocked out in a fight. I've never been knocked out cold playing sports. I've never been knocked out wrestling other than this one moment, knock on wood. It had to be in like 2014, or 2015, so 1 or 2 years into like my pro career. Still pretty green, still kind of experienced, still like a daredevil, not really caring about my body or anything like that, just kind of rolling with the punches, calling a match. So I'm in a 5-way match. I'm the champion at the time. It's for a company in New York that used to be called Fight Fear Wrestling, which was the SAT's home promotion. So I was champ there, hometown crowd, all that stuff, and we're in a 5-way match, and I'm wrestling a guy by the name of Suntan Superman, who's a Brooklyn legend, but he doesn't really wrestle actively anymore. Good friend of mine. He's about a 300-pound black cowboy. That's his gimmick. He's a drunken cowboy. He's like Chef from South Park. He's a lovable guy. He's great. One of his signature moves was a moonsault. So he would always hit it. I would always miss it. It would always be the high spot. He climbs up. He does the moonsault. He misses. He eats the bump, and he goes into something else. So this time he goes, Verna, I trust you. Let's make this a good match. I'm like, okay, let's make it a good match. Like, I'm going to hit the moonsault. So let them know, I'm like, oh, shit. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I want to hit the moonsault. So I'm like, all right, 2 years in, who cares? Hit me with the moonsault. So I'm sitting there, we're calling up like, Suntan, 2 things are going to happen. Either I'm going to break my nose or I'm going to break my ribs. And he said, don't worry, I'll land and you're fine. we get to the spot in the match. He hits the moonsault. There's a video of it up on YouTube somewhere. It's very deep because the company tried to get rid of it because it's really hard to watch afterwards. But he lands knee first on my head. I'm out like a light. I could not finish the match. People are trying to pick up my dead body, trying to get to the next spot. Eventually, I regained consciousness. I don't remember how. I don't remember what I did, but I hit someone with something because I was a chance. I couldn't lose. Normally, you just roll out and wake up whenever you wake up, but I couldn't lose. So I had to just eventually snap out of it and do something, and that was it. But that was a pretty scary moment.
Yeah.
That's what a concussion felt like. Sometimes what's crazy is people always ask, oh, what does this feel like? What does that feel like? Sometimes as a performer, you don't know what those things feel like until it happens to you. You know, God forbid you break your leg. God forbid you do something crazy. Like, I've never been concussed up until that. So I always think, oh, a concussion, how bad can it be? I was knocked out. You know what I'm saying? I was out cold.
Yeah.
I remember this. And the funny thing on top of that is as soon as that match was over, I was supposed to have a promo with Brodus Clay in the ring. I don't know what I said to him. I don't remember what I did to him. All I know is that at the end of the show, he gave me a wink like, okay, you did a good job. Because he knew I was gone.
Wow. Oh my God. Yeah, that's why I always tell people that don't like wrestling or know wrestling. They're like, oh, is that fake stuff? I'm like, let's go with predetermined because these guys are getting hurt. And sometimes that predetermined thing, I'm sure as you can tell, not everything works out the way it should be.
When I tell people it, especially in the movie business, like when they talk about just a lot of people in the movie business, they're very intrigued about me being a wrestler. It kind of helped both of my careers. Like, it helps wrestling because I'm not just this wrestler bubble guy, and it helps with acting is it's like, oh, he has another skill. So it kind of balances itself out. And when I tell people in Hollywood, it's like imagine not having a stunt person and having to do all your stunts, no matter how bad they are. And as soon as I say that, they're like, oh shit, you know? So it's like people get it, but it's hard for them originally to understand, like, this is not easy, you know? Like, this really isn't something that is made for everybody, like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like improv / stuntman / it's just
100%. That's what's funny is like I literally tell people like you don't realize the similarities in various acting and wrestling. You know, I mean, one is much more of a sport. Don't get me wrong, I still call professional wrestling a sport because it's that you need to be an athlete to do this. I mean, there are people that can get away with being a really good entertainer, but when push comes to shove, you got to perform athletically. But in regard to the entertainment side of it, I mean, it's hand in hand with Hollywood.
Yeah, and I think I heard Ric Flair or someone say before that the guys that are going to make the most money are the guys that can talk and work. So, I mean... Exactly.
That's exactly it. That's spot on point.
So let's get into some of the wrestling. I've seen you around Beyond, XWA. What are some of the companies you've worked for?
I'm a regular in Chikara. I'm a regular in Beyond. I'm a regular in XWA, Chaotic, Northeast Wrestling. I'll tell you this as a short way to kind of compound the companies I work for. I've worked in every company in the Northeast except for House of Glory. That is the only company I have not worked for. And Limitless. Limitless and House of Glory are the only two companies, I guess, with Disney credentials. You know, obviously that's opinionated, but to the fans, every company that is very popular with the independent wrestling fan base, I've been honored and privileged to work for, except for those two companies. But regularly, when it comes to some of the more top companies, Chaotic has become a second home. Northeast Wrestling has become a second home. XWA, unfortunately, they don't run as much as they used to on Saturdays, and I can't make every Thursday night because of this busy schedule. But they're always been great to me. I love working there. Chikara has been part of that for the last 4 years. I've done stints with Evolve. I'm not, you know, I mean, you have to be a contract to be with Evolve, so I'm not with them consistently. But I've worked for Evolve. Like I said, I've been pretty lucky to work with a lot of top companies, and I plan on expanding that. You know, if I can fit into my schedule and I can get out of the Northeast, that would make me nothing would make me happier because I love going to California, A for acting and B for wrestling. I mean, there's bar wrestling out there. There's PWG, of course. I've never worked at PWG, but I've worked for bar wrestling. I love it. I love working for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood with Dave Marquez and the NWA. Professionally run stuff. There's just so many hidden gems when it comes to companies outside of the hotbed of New England, New York, Philly, Jersey, that a lot of people just don't know about because I'm lucky and I'm honored to live in a pro wrestling hotbed. But just the best companies tend to run, arguably the best companies tend to run. So I really never felt like it was necessary to leave the Northeast to kind of do more traveling because I was able to make a name for myself in my backyard.
Now, did you had a spot with NXT? Did that happen? And
I did.
Yeah, and how did that come about?
Yeah, cool. So I had my first trial. So I started back in 2013, like I said, and I was very blessed to kind of get onto WWE's radar 9 months into the business. So I started October 2013, and I believe it was August. It was SummerSlam weekend, so it was August of 2014. I had my first stint with WWE as an extra, and I did back in the day. Just to give you a quick rundown of how it works. William Regal, this is right when NXT was just beginning, 2014, where it was kind of just starting to find its roots of what it is. And Regal was coming on the road with TV every single week to kind of recruit possible signees to extra work. So he would kind of be with us for like 3 days, and we have like a seminar the first day, and he just talked to us about what it takes, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day, we'd start getting into matches and promos, where he would kind of really dissect you and tell you exactly what they want and what they're all about. So through that, I kind of got WWE's radar very early on. So at that time, I was only 23, and something that stuck with me that makes a lot more sense now was William Regal looked at me and he said, you have everything we want. You have the look, you have the presence, you have the in-ring ability, you can talk, you have a cultural background with Italy that helps you market globally and internationally, and you have head on your shoulders. He said, but the only problem is you're 23. He's like, you're not experienced yet. There's so much that you would have to experience in the world of pro wrestling that you wouldn't get to experience if we signed you to NXT, where you would just sit there at the Performance Center and train and get better, but not have the experience of what it takes to be a pro wrestler. And at that time, at 23, that's when I said, 23, I mean, if I was still playing baseball and I wasn't signed to a major league team, I'd be at the end of my career. You know, he's like 23 telling me I'm too young. Like, I was kind of mind-boggled by that, but it makes so much more sense now because at 23, if I was signed to NXT, I would have never made it. I was nowhere near ready to go down to Florida and live that life. But to retrospect, that timeline, 2014 was that gig. I did a lot more extra work with them over the next 2 years, and I finally got my tryout in 2017. Trial went really good, and it kind of ended up being the same situation with age. I was 25 at the time, and they kind of just wanted me to. I got to tell you, break the fourth wall a little bit. There was one person that didn't want to take me just then. I can't tell you who it is, but it was one person that didn't want to take me just then. They wanted me to go out there and get a little bit more, but I was very, very close at the time of getting signed based on what I was told by the coaches and based on people that I network with and that I'm connected with that actually have an inside scoop. I trained at the Franco's gym. Yeah, so I got my rundown through that, and I was very, very close to getting signed at the time. Again, I'm very happy I did it, because even at 25, I wasn't fully ready. I just know I wasn't fully ready, physically, mentally, and even in the ring. So then, obviously, stay in the loop. 2017, then 2018 rolls around. I get a call from Brian Katz, who's one of the producers down at NXT, and he handles the extras who would come in and people that they want to take a look at and all that stuff. So he emailed me today, we want to bring you down for a taping, NXT taping. We'll have you working Jack Ryder, who was formerly known as Gunner. So I was like, oh, cool, yeah, definitely. Look, squash matches are what they are. They're not going to make you look good. They make it enhance their contracted talent. But it's a great experience as a wrestler where you get to learn. Like, being a wrestler and having the opportunity to work with WWE as early as I was able to, I constantly want to learn. Like, what does it take to do this? How does this go to work? How does this promo work? How do they put this guy over? How do they agent this match? So you kind of want to have every opportunity to learn, even if it's an embarrassing squash that you lose in 2 minutes, or if you go put on a 15-minute masterpiece at WrestleMania. You're constantly learning. So I took that opportunity as another way to, hey, show them a professional, learn, and see, get that experience. So I got there. The matches on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. Mitch Verna versus Jackson Riker from, I think it was December 21st, 2018. So it was the last NXT of last year. It was a great experience. Jackson Riker is a gentleman. He's a patriot. He's a good man. The Forgotten Sons are a great team. They were awesome. They took care of me. I'm very, very good friends with Bull James, formerly known as Bull Dempsey, and they were close with him when he was down there, so they really looked after me. So, I mean, it was a really good, pleasurable experience. Robbie Brookside was the agent for the match. Man, total professional, just exactly, really giving you knowledge that you thought you had, but you never had. So it was an awesome experience.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine, too, it's like kind of twofold. One, you're kind of learning the process, so you're going to be a little more knowledgeable when you do get called up eventually. And the other thing is, too, you're just, like you said before, you're making connections while you're down there, too.
Exactly.
I got a question, too. I mean, we talk about bumps and stuff like that. Do you, and I know you probably love working with everybody, but is there a particular favorite opponent of yours?
Oh wow, yeah. Actually, there is a particular favorite. I have a list of opponents that I'm really vibing with right now. I'm really having good matches. But one guy that I can always say is my favorite opponent. He brings out the absolute best in me. He's selfless in the ring. He makes me look like $1 million. We just vibe. We have great chemistry. We're really good friends, so that helps on top of things. That's JT Dunn. He's, to me, I can go out there tomorrow, literally 2 minutes before we go out there to have a match, and we will give you a 5-star match, just like that, because we have that good chemistry. Another guy that I have amazing chemistry with that I love working is Christian Casanova, who's kind of on his way up now up that ladder. He's another guy that will literally, the term of making you look good, I'm sure you've heard that as podcast guys a lot, but it's something that kind of, you can't put into words how important it is for a match. And I'm actually down on myself sometimes because as a bigger guy in the ring, we bump a little bit differently the guys that are smaller or the cruiserweight guys that aren't so muscle bound, just because they have more flexibility. They just have more movement, body control, stuff like that. And I've gotten better as I dropped all the weight from a heavyweight to a cruiserweight myself. I've gotten better at doing it. But when a guy is able to kind of contort their body, to control their movements when they take a bump, that makes the other guys look like they literally turned your world inside out. That does so much for wrestling. Like, as fans, I know they pop to two things. They pop to a crazy bump or a flip bump or something like that, or they pop to a loud strike. Those are two things that will always get a reaction. And when you wrestle a guy or a girl that can bump for you that way, and they can do it so selflessly, and they can do it so beneficially for you, I mean, that's a testament to them. Like, they're going above and beyond to their body to make you look good. And JT and Christian, I mean, like I just said, I have a laundry list of guys that I have great matches with, but I've never had a bad match with either of them.
I wanted to ask you this before, we got a little away from it, but I noticed too, like with the acting, you had a producer credit on your list. How did that come about?
So, one of the biggest projects I've been, and I was told to plug this today, so thank you for that.
Oh, no problem. We did it.
One of the biggest projects that I've been on so far is it's a pilot series called Mob Mentality. Growing up, it's still to this day, that is my favorite genre of movies. I'm kind of a mafia buff. Like, I love the genre. I love that lifestyle. Like, I mean, obviously, you know what I mean?
I got you, but.
You know what I'm saying? I love everything about it other than the bad shit. But it's kind of a dream role. So I kind of got into it luckily because early on in your career, before you kind of have representation that really pushes for you, you kind of have to look for jobs yourself through like casting websites and stuff like that. So this is a needle in a haystack here, a total diamond in the rough. Like these projects don't show up on these casting sites because these are projects that your manager and your agent is supposed to get you because they're valuable. They're pilot series. When you make a pilot, I mean, it's like you're a creator wrestler. You know, you're creating the ultimate wrestler to go headline WrestleMania. It's the same thing with a pilot series. You have the ability to make that creator wrestler to be the next star. So I saw this genre and I said, oh, I got to audition for this. So I auditioned for it, I got the role, and basically the series started as it being a sizzle reel. Are you guys familiar with a sizzle reel?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it started as a sizzle reel, which is only going to be a 2-day shoot, about a 5-minute trailer that we had pitched at networks. That sizzle reel turned into a short film.
Huh.
That short film turned into a mini-series. That mini-series turned into a 30-minute episodic, 10-episode thing. Then it turned into a holy shit, this stuff is good. Networks want it. We have to make it a full hour-long pilot. So, long story short with that, I've been a part of the project since 2017. It's now 2019. So I've been with the project for 2 years. We just finished the first 2 episodes. And the only reason why we finished the first 2 episodes now is because the project evolved so much. We saw it to investors. We were able to get money behind it, some big money to really create something that's really, really amazing. So producers are interested in it. Networks are interested in it. So I'm really, really lucky to be a part of this project. Just to give you a plug here, December 18th, that's a Wednesday at the MCA Theater in Chelsea, Manhattan. The one-night only premiere of Mob Mentality, the pilot episode, will be that night. There is a ticket fee. It's $50 right now on the website, mobmentalitytickets.com. It's open bar. It's a red carpet event. A lot of media, a lot of producers. Really, really massive event. It's the only time anyone who's interested in the show can see it now before we go into the television process of selling it. That's could be 6 months, that could be a year from now, whatever it may be. It could be tomorrow. You never know. But to the people that always wanted to see it or were involved or were interested in it, that night is the only time you can actually physically see it until it goes into the vault and it needs to be sold to the people who want to buy it. But back to your original question, being a part of the project for so long, you kind of start becoming invested in it because you know that the light at the end of the tunnel could be potentially a very big light. It could change your life, it could change your career path, it could change everything. So I became very heavily in making this thing work by all means necessary. So what got me in producer credit was I have a lot of connections in Brooklyn. I also have a lot of relationships in Brooklyn and a lot of people that think very highly of me because of wrestling. They kind of see me as like a neighborhood celebrity, which is an honor. You know, you live in a small town of Brooklyn, but for you to be honored like that in your neighborhood, it's a very big deal. It's very important. It humbles me every single day. And at the end of the day, if I'd have never high-fived WrestleMania, never made it big in AEW or any major company, at least I know I made the neighborhood proud. So
there you go.
It's one off the bucket list. So because I was able to kind of get a lot of locations for free, I was able to get to my old high school, which is illegal, but I was able to get the principal to sign off on it, so we still there. So when you do that, and you're able to kind of create all those benefits and opportunities for the production, you become a producer because you're producing something. You're creating locations, you're opening your house, you know, whatever it may be. So that's how I became a producer. But at the same time, when you talk about learning how I did with wrestling and NXT, it's the same thing with Hollywood. Like, if I was going to make it as an actor, I need to know how every aspect of this business works. Otherwise, you're going to get eaten alive. Hollywood is just as dog-eat-dog and blood in the water as a shark as wrestling is. So you kind of have to be prepared to know every aspect of this business. So I looked at it as, hey, if I can be a producer, I don't even care about the credit. If I can be a producer and learn what a producer is and how to get shit done from that side of the spectrum, I'm going to do it.
We actually have to wrap up. Is there anything you want to promote?
Well, I promoted the Mob Mentality premiere. Like I said, I know you guys are in the New England area, so if anyone's listening to this that's closer to New York and wants to see this show that will eventually be on television, I promise you that. It's a great story, has a great cast, has a great creator and writer. Technically, I mean, we tag it as the next great American mob show. That's because we truly believe it is. So if you believe in that, and anyone has interest in my acting career, on December 18th, Wednesday, at the MCA Theater in Chelsea, come to the red carpet premiere, MobMentalityTickets.com. You can check it out. You can take pictures on the red carpet, have a good time, have a couple of drinks. My Twitter, my Instagram is @ManOfSteelMZ, ManOfSteelMZ. And please, just support indie wrestling. Support all the boys and girls that go out there and bust their ass. Support the podcasters that give us a platform to talk about what we do, to get a platform to get ourselves out there to listeners that may not know who we are now. Just support anything professional wrestling. I mean, we're in a great time right now for this business. It's only going to get better. It's only going to grow. There are going to be more stars that are going to become, you know, the VFW Hall legends to now household names, and that's honestly because of you fans, and you know, you guys do. You guys give us a platform every single day. I mean, anytime I get a podcast in my message, I always look at the show. I always see if it's a good show, and I jump on it because you guys go out of your way to kind of, like I said, to give us a platform. And I'm sure you're aware, but we are forever appreciative of that platform. So thank you to that. And like I said, guys, fans, just keep supporting us, man. You guys supporting us will help us fulfill our.
All right, awesome, Mike. Thank you so much for everything. We really appreciate it. You were great. I wish we could have gone longer, man.
Great podcast. So you killed an hour and a half of my ride. I'm almost there.
Awesome, man.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Cool. Please give me a call, give me a message. I'm definitely down to do it. You guys are great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Bye.
All right, so that wraps us up for this week. Thank you again for listening to the Working Fans Podcast. So as always, you can find us on Twitter at FansWorking. Our Facebook page is Working Fans Wrestling Pod. We have email where you can reach out to us and let us know what you think also. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, workingfanswrestling_pod. And then as always, please continue to listen to us on Anchor.fm, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, all your major platforms. If you're following us on Apple Podcasts, which we are also on now, and YouTube, please make sure you subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. It helps us bring you these podcasts where we get to talk to you and talk with you every week.